What's going on, guys? This is Sam, and I love this concept. I saw this concept earlier today. It is for the Face ID enabled iPad Pro, said to be launching later this year, just a few months away, probably around the same time as the 3 new flagship iPhones launch. And I just have to show this to you because it is seriously one of the best concepts that I have ever seen. This looks like something straight off of Apple's website. They look like leaked images to me. I would be absolutely convinced if this was passed as a fake or as a leak. It's just incredible. Check out Alvaro's stuff down below in the description. I'll link his Instagram and his site. But first off, we got this image right here. This looks like something straight off of Apple's website. So much attention to detail throughout this entire concept. We even have a new tag at the very top, as if this was listed on apple.com. Here's the lock screen for the new iPad right here. First thing you can notice, no bezels or very limited bezels on the device. It looks so great. It basically takes the body of the 10.5-inch iPad Pro, and what bezels are on here just makes them even smaller than before. There's no notch, but we do get Face ID. There is rumored to be no Touch ID on the next generation iPad Pro. Face ID is finally coming to the iPad, and I'm sure in the future, Apple's just going to continue to expand Face ID to maybe the Apple Watch, but certainly the Mac lineup and any other products that they are working on. We have some details on how Face ID would work down below. Supports up to 4 different faces, going to have improved range, which is one of the limitations of the current Face ID module. You have to be relatively close. Like if you hold your phone out here, rarely is it actually going to scan your face. You have to be relatively close. So that is something I would love to see with second generation Face ID. You also have horizontal recognition. That's a must on an iPad because using this device, you're not always in portrait or almost always in portrait like you are on your iPhone, because it can fit in your hand easily in portrait mode or in landscape mode. So landscape Face ID is a must. And we had actually heard that rumored for iOS 12 in general, that on the iPhone 10 even, you would be able to unlock your iPhone horizontally or in a different direction other than just up and down vertically in your hand. That didn't happen, so Apple is probably reserving that either for the next generation Face ID modules on the new iPhones, but almost certainly for the iPad that is used very frequently in landscape mode in addition to portrait. Of course, a True Tone Super Retina HD display is proposed, 120 Hz, 800 nits, 0.5% reflectivity. I don't know if Apple will be able to realistically achieve all of that on this next iPad, but the True Tone display and the 120 Hz refresh rate for me is a must. I have fallen in love with the responsiveness, and you won't be able to see it at 30 FPS, but the screen on the 10.5 and 12.9-inch iPad Pros that Apple released at last year's WWDC is just incredible. Like the way it looks, it's like the pixels just follow your finger around the screen wherever you're touching or interacting. It's really great, and that is a must-stay feature for me that I really look forward to seeing on the all-new 11.9-inch iPad. The camera system on this iPad, I want dual cameras. I think that would be really cool. Yes, it would encourage people to shoot photos and videos on their iPad more, but at the end of the day, it's just someone being creative, and I think that's a good thing in the first place. Having a dual camera setup on the new iPad would be so nice. I don't think Apple's ever going to do it. I don't think this is realistic. In fact, I think this is probably the most unrealistic part of this concept, but I still love it all the same. Having 2 cameras on this iPad would look great. Interesting that it went horizontal instead of vertical for the alignment of the dual cameras. I feel like if Apple did this, they would put it vertically just because that's how they're aligning the camera modules on all of their devices recently. But still, you got the flash, you got the microphone, you have the one camera with a set zoom, and then another that has the telephoto setup for even closer zoom. This would support portrait mode and all the good features that you already love from the camera system on your iPhone 7 Plus, your iPhone 8 Plus, or your iPhone 10. Of course, if we're going to have a dual camera setup, if we're going to support portrait mode, if we're going to have this giant screen on here, we have to have a ridiculously fast processor to accompany that. So of course, we have the A12 Bionic chip here, claims 45% faster CPU speed, 50% faster graphics speed, that gives you battery life on this device up to 12 hours. I don't know how Apple would do that on a device that has to power even more pixels than the one they're powering on the 10.5-inch iPad right now in the exact same sized body, but 2 hours extra battery life would be really great. Apple's kind of become famous for offering 10 hours across the board. I probably only charge this iPad that I use quite a bit once every 5 to 6 days. The battery life, because of what Apple can pack inside of here, is really great, and it is time for Apple to continue to push battery technology forward. Will we get 12 hours on the next iPad Pro this year? I don't think so, but maybe 10 or 11 like we always have. So all the hardware features proposed are Face ID, edge-to-edge display, dual camera setup, and also a glass back on this iPad. I wish we had more views or looks at a glass iPad in its full beauty, but we just see this little snippet of a reflection right here. I'm a huge fan of glass. That may give us wireless charging for the next iPad. We haven't heard specifically that the next iPad would be made of glass, but while aluminum is great, we've had that on the iPad since the original iPad, and I think it's definitely time for Apple to bring glass from the iPhone to the iPad lineup as well. It makes it so much more premium, and it also has the ability to introduce wireless charging, which is a feature that a lot of people really, really love. And then we get into these iOS 12 features. These are very, very cool. This is almost an iOS 12.1 concept, if you want to coin it that. We've got a picture-in-picture small mode where it looks like you can basically run iPhone applications in the corner. You have stacks. Those were recently introduced with macOS Mojave. Those would be coming to the iPad with this concepted version of iOS 12. A little bit of an updated control center where you have some expanded functionality here, just a little bit of a better media player, and some more detail for the icons like Do Not Disturb, screen sharing, personal hotspot, and AirDrop. Home screen looks largely the same, but I've noticed the dock has some different notches in it when applications are open, and also a revamped version of the Files app, and this is all broken down right here. After seeing how widgets are shown off in this concept, why does Apple not do it this way in the first place? It makes so much more sense space-wise, and you have the larger screen, so why would you want something designed initially for like an iPhone with a smaller, thinner display to then just expand all the way across the iPad screen? This looks so much better, and it just makes sense here. You also have multitasking. You can open iPhone apps on your iPad, and of course, no other better app to show off here than Calculator, which even after stocks and voice memos made it to the Mac and to the iPad, Apple has still not. Help me under Apple. What are you doing? Why is Calculator not on the iPad yet? It doesn't make sense. There's no good reason for it. There's no copyright that is preventing them from doing it. At this point, I think they just know we want Calculator on the iPad so badly, they're going to bring every single last application from the iPhone to the iPad before they just give us an iPad Calculator app. But who knows? I could be wrong. I'm just really happy to see that as part of this concept because it's something that people have wanted since the first iPad came out back in 2010. I can't find anything wrong with this concept. I can't find anything whatsoever to dislike. Everything here is so well thought out, so well planned, and seems like something that Apple could realistically achieve, maybe not this year, but the next year or the near after. I mean, every detail from the music playing in the multitasking concept portion of this is reborn from Kids See Ghost, one of maybe the greatest albums that I've heard in the past 5 years. Everything is so great. It's so well thought out. And the last thing I want to look at really quickly is just the updated version of the Files app. We've got a little look right here of some expanded functionality. If I recall correctly, Bloomberg has rumored that iOS 13 will give the iPad a much better version of the Files app, which it definitely needs because right now it's a very, very, very watered down version of Finder. And Finder on the Mac, super powerful. Files on the iPad, just not that powerful yet. Doesn't make that much sense in its current state. But you've got all my files, downloads, documents, pictures, movies. Being able to download files directly to an app on your iPad, just like you can in Finder on the Mac, would be so, so helpful and would potentially turn this device into a computer replacement. You've also got devices connected. You have, of course, you can view that iPad, and then your SD card and a camera that you can also connect here. Also, once again, very important if you want to reach out to that pro field and get those pro users to somehow shift over from their Macs or PCs to the iPad. That is this concept. I have to hear your thoughts on this down below. I have to highlight once again, one of the greatest concepts I've ever seen. So well done, so well thought out, realistic to the point where this is something Apple could achieve, maybe not just in the next year, but at some point in the future. You don't have crazy features or crazy designs that we haven't even thought about or heard about. Lots of these are just logical changes that people have wanted to see on the iPad forever. Just a great job overall, an absolutely phenomenal concept, and I know I'm going to be disappointed if Apple doesn't release something like this when they release the new Face ID-enabled iPad Pros in just a couple of months. I have to hear your thoughts on this down below. What do you think about this concept? Would you buy this iPad if Apple offered this exact concept for purchase? And what do you think a fair price for this iPad would be? I've seen some people saying they would gladly shell out $1,000 for something like this already. I think a fair price would probably be $799 is the fairest price, although this would be a steal for anything under $500 to $600. But I'm sure Apple will price this, if they release something like this concept suggests, for between $749, $849, or $949. But let me know your thoughts on this down below. So that's all for this video. If you enjoyed watching, if you learned something new, it does help me out if you drop a like down below. And if you want to see cool concepts like this in the future, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well, and that would be incredible. If you do want to help support the channel, go that extra mile. You can buy a shirt like the one I'm wearing right now over at shop.iupdateos.com, and I would really appreciate that. For now, I've been Sam. I hope all of you are doing great, and I will talk to you in my next video.